Oh, good morning, everyone. I was looking to double check the time of my guest, and JK, I was just kidding. Alan Mendenhall is coming on with me next Monday, on Monday next week, as opposed to today. So, in case you were looking forward to that guest, I helps to know what days of the week is happening. Carrie joining me, taking his turn at trying to keep me out of trouble.
Howdy. How you
How's it
doing?
how's it going this morning?
I am very glad it's Friday.
Yeah, same. You missed it. I had my daughter in. She popped in earlier
Really?
with a family friend who is here to celebrate her 13th birthday.
13.
My first teenager.
Man.
I know. I'm not ready for it.
Mm.
I'm not ready. It's.
It's going
Here's
to.
here's what I will say. For all of the panic about having a teenager, she's homeschooled. She's a really good kid. So it's knock on wood. Like I'm going to just keep knocking for the next 2 hours. It's going really well. I brought you a pastry.
That's what I hear. Thank you. You're too nice. You're too
I
nice to us.
you're very sweet. Again, I will if you will you'll gain a little weight the more often I guest as a guest host because I told you I have a spot for producers. It's a tough job they're doing over there. And if I'm going to stop and get me something on the way in, I'm going to get something for you. This is not a paid advertisement. I'm just obsessed with Hello Bakery and cannot stop eating them. So you'll have to let us know. I think he left you the apple.
I think so. It is
Okay.
much appreciated.
You're welcome. Well, you'll have to let me know how that tastes. It's funny because I got myself I always get multiple pastries. Again, apparently I'm not doing very well on RFK's food chart. And I ate mine. I ate one on the way in, and then I ate half of one just now, barely off camera. But if you're watching the YouTube, you might have caught a little bit of it because I forgot about the whole camera situation. All right, I'm switching gears a little bit. We're going to continue to follow the what's going on in Minnesota. We're going to continue to keep up with and see if there's anything new with the Charlie Kirk, the request for dismissing the prosecutors in the Charlie Kirk case. I think I say a thing. We're obviously going to see the defense side do what the defense side of nearly every case does, which is try every procedural move they can possibly find before they get to the trial. This is par for the course. It's almost like a standard. You just check the box. We're going to try to get rid of evidence. We're going to try to get rid of prosecutors. We might try to move venue. We might do this and this and this, and it's standard. As that happens, though, we get more details of the case because they have to argue these points in evidence, and it becomes public information. So we will continue to follow that. I got to tell you, Carrie, something crazy happened. So when I'm on the radio, Jeff Poor has gotten really good. He manages multiple things at once. He does radio 9 to noon every day, but he also manages the 1819 news team. He also does some management on the Breitbart side, if y'all didn't know. So he's juggling like 10 things. I can't do that. If I am trying to keep up with my group chat while I'm on air, you end up with me not being able to form a coherent sentence. So I can check the messages. I'm used to doing the text line. I don't actually have the text line here. But yesterday, somebody dropped a video from the Alabama. It's the Alabama Public Library Service Board, and John Wall chairs that. They've been doing everything they can, and this is much to the dismay of the left. God forbid we take explicit books out of the children and young adult section and put it in the adult section. And if adult wants their child to have that book, they have to check it out with them, right? So they're not getting rid of the books. Contrary to what you've heard, they're saying if there is a sexually explicit book, it just that let's let the kids be kids, run around the children's section of the library. I did that as a kid. There's a library. I know where both of the public libraries were in my hometown. There was actually one right next to the high school. We had a library. Did you ever see the bookmobiles?
Oh, yeah.
Remember bookmobiles?
I would run from them.
You. I loved the bookmobile. And the bookmobile, the person who ran the bookmobile in my neighborhood and ran it through our neighborhood just knew, and like clockwork, I was going to come to where the bookmobile was. Well, this is not hard. This is not complicated. If it is the sexually explicit book or beyond the age, like developmental stages that kids should have access to, you just put it in a different section of the library. Well, John Wall has been leading this fight across the state of Alabama, and He yesterday during the meeting, and I was not prepared. And I'm not going to play the clip because but you can find it on 1819 News. You can find the clip. But he read, and I love it when they do this, by the way. This happens at school boards sometimes, where there's a book in the circulation available for the kids, or sometimes in classrooms, or whatever the case, and then it's read out loud, and the board all acts like, oh my goodness, they're clutching their pearls. Oh no, can't believe you made me listen to that. Well, why are we giving it to children then? You yahoos? So John Wall read a book. He asked to address a trigger warning before reading an excerpt from the book in the library's teen section, "The Perks of Being a Wallflower," which I have not read. And then he read a part about, and it's just a sexually explicit scene, is what it is. Talks about all the pieces, all of the parts, and so basically, anyway, I'm not going to read it to you, but I will say John Wall read it in the meeting, and I was not. No, I had the video because it was sent and I was on air, and so I didn't see it. So then when I did click it, I was like, "What did I just listen to?" It was I I ended up calling John Wall later because I feel strongly that we need to pay attention to what's in our kids' classrooms. We know that there are groups out there on the left who are taking the very books that there's being an effort made to move in the library. Again, moving sections. We're not burning the books. We're not banning the books. We're just taking sexually explicit material and moving it over to the grown-up section. So this is what they have done with the Alabama Public Library system. But our classrooms, it's kind of anything goes at this point. And so there are organizations around the state that have taken this opportunity, taken advantage of this kind of loophole, and they collect books. This happened right here. The Magic City Acceptance Academy, right around the corner from the radio studio, had just a pile of filth. There's no other way to describe it. A pile of filth that was a very sexually, tons of sexually explicit books, uh, lots of books denying gender and biological reality, all of these things, and donating to them. I want this to be stopped. I want it to be that you cannot, if a book is too mature for the kids section of a library, you can't have it in a public school either. This is people are going, oh, you're for book banning. Those mom for liberty moms, those crazy radical right wing nut jobs. Well, if it makes me all of those things, crazy radical, whatever, to not have my kid see pornographic, graphic novels in their school and classroom, call me a crazy nut job. Call me a crazy nut job while you remove the books. But nothing prepared me for John Wall reading the explicit material. A reporter live streaming the meeting then interrupted to request a trigger warning before any other reading on the topic of rape. Look at this. Look, this is going to be in front of minors, Wall told them. It does deserve a trigger warning. Thank you. And we deserve that for children. You just provided an excellent point. I kind of laughed because like I said, we've seen this repeatedly of people freaking out that these books are being read out loud, and they're like, "Oh no, and it is the book contains a sexual assault scene, an explicit sexual assault scene, and that proves the point. If you can't listen to John Wall read it, we shouldn't have it in the kids section of a library, in the young adult section of a library. Reporters too dumb to get it. Like, you just proved the point. It ended up in a 3-2 vote. The Alabama Public Library System continues to withhold its funding from the Fairhope Public Library because the city of Fairhope thinks that they know better than parents and that they can decide to leave this stuff there. This isn't about keeping kids from reading material their parents think they should have. Though some of these books, I really want to question your parenting skills and your judgment if you do want your kids to have them. But this is simply about, let's let our kids be kids. Let's let it be able to let your kid loose. If it's a little kid, let them loose. Let them find Clifford the big red dog. Let them find, Pokemon. Let them find whatever interests them. And kids be kids. And then if you have a kid who, for whatever reason, needs sexually explicit, mature books, you as the parent go check it out for them, or you buy it for them, or whatever it is. You provide it. It doesn't need to be in these public spaces, not because we're prudes, not because we're hateful, whatever, bigots, all the names that are going to be called of us, but because there's a time and a place for everything. and not every kid develops on the same level, and not everybody's faith is the same, and all of those reasons. I'm proud of our library board. One of the things I'm most proud of is that the John Wall was able to get, they were able over time to get some of the more liberal people out, get some conservative voices on there, and actually see progress and making these entities what they used to be when we were kids, where they don't have agendas being, shoved right in front of them at every turn. And if you think this isn't happening to you in your small town, in your library, you'd be surprised. There were issues of this in the Homewood Library before. I think those have been cleared up. We've definitely seen some things in Hoover, Mountain Brook. Mountain Brook has a whole banned book. They go on the whole banned book agenda thing. And I've seen some. I've been up there and taken pictures at the O'Neill Library of some crazy books they've got in their young adult section. It's everywhere, and it's a crying shame, is what it is. All right, back in a minute. You're listening to April Marie for Andrew McLean. You can find that story, by the way, on the Alabama Public Library service on 1819news.com. Back in a second. Well, good morning. April Marie here, filling in for Andrew. I don't have access to the text line. Carrie does, so you can keep calling, texting. You can also call in 545-9950. That number is 545-9950. Usually get pretty strong opinions when we talk about the library issue in terms of, oh, is it banning? Is it not? I'll tell you what, the smut they're giving kids, not the same smut they were giving us when we were younger. That's for dang sure. I remember thinking, some kissing and making out scenes were a little dicey. That's not what they're giving these kids anymore. Now they're giving these kids literal images of people doing sexual acts, and it's absolutely bonkers. Crazy time that we live in. The idea, oh, they need this. There are kids out there that need to read or see this. They need to see themselves, represented. Well, if you can tell me why a 10 to 12-year-old needs sexually explicit material, Not only would I like to have a talk with you, I think the law enforcement around the corner and maybe some social service workers, they'd also like to have a talk with you. That would be great. Thanks. Uh, Carrie, that call, anything, I love it when we talked about this before. People call in, they're like, I don't want to go on air, but I want you to listen to me for a little while.
No, he was needing some information.
Or there you go, or that. Okay, well, we've got some. Yesterday, a family member, and this is going to sound, if you can follow this, Charlie Kirk's we killer. By the way, contrary to Candace Owens, will have you think, we know who it is, Tyler Robinson. Tyler Robinson's roommate was getting the weird text. You guys remember that? And that was a big part of Candace's conspiracy theories. I did look at the text and I was like, huh, who talks like that? Who texts like this? Well, yesterday, a family member of the shooter's roommate, so Tyler Robinson's roommate, was Lance Twiggs, who a family member of his went on air. They blurred out the face like they sometimes do and changed the voice and all of those things so that they could speak about the what was going on behind the scenes. And the family member had a very good made a very good point, which was that Twiggs didn't just volunteer the information. Even after his boyfriend sent him the messages saying he had killed Charlie, it wasn't until law enforcement came to him that that he. So even though they're, the family member says that that they said that he was cooperating. Well, when I first found out about how he was taken in and talked to by the police, I know they said that he was very cooperative, but they had to go get him and bring him in. He didn't voluntarily go in and say, hey, I heard about this and I have some knowledge. He handed things over when they asked him to, but he didn't give up any information until he had to. That's a very valid point. We've heard a lot that how cooperative the roommate was, but it wasn't until after the fact then, and after the roommate had in fact followed the killer's instructions to destroy some evidence or attempt to destroy some evidence, that he was cooperative. In terms of the way that the conversation was, if you look at the text, it's like an unnatural way of speaking. The family member said that it was because both of them were really smart. Both of them, air quote, and this is a direct quote, super smart. I mean, Lance was a concert pianist and had a talent for music that was off the charts. And Tyler is apparently also very smart. The family member explained that it is a shame that these kids had so much potential and a bright future, and that they would, very clearly, at least Tyler, throw it all away to murder Charlie, to publicly assassinate Charlie Kirk. The family member goes on to talk about the world they were in, this gaming world, the way that they text to one another, and the unnatural flow of the conversation was normal to the two of them. And there is a separate, and I have never really gotten into. I say I've never really gotten into. There's a whole gaming culture out there. There are adults that, beyond going to some of them with real world jobs and doing real world things, and then go home and are in this, tiny universe they've created for themselves. And it can be a very unhealthy uh, world where you're in an echo chamber. And especially if one or multiple or all, God forbid, all of you have extremist views, that you would participate in, in crazy talk. But she says that this family member says, the all of the FBI protections that were originally in place for the roommate have been removed. I don't know how I feel about them needing to talk about that in the interview, but I thought that was an interesting fact. But really, what the family member is saying is, like, on the surface, even though this kid is getting credit, Twigs is getting credit for being for participating and helping. It wasn't all on his own. It wasn't there wasn't a conscious choice. It was okay, probably a self-preservation thing. Is they've got him dead to rights, and now he wants to make sure none of this falls back on him. It is a death penalty case. And so, and if the roommate had prior knowledge of this or did have information, which they have not said he has, then it would have been an accessory situation. It could have been charges fall back on him. So interesting to see as we continue to get more information about the individuals within Tyler Robinson's circles. We have heard, of course, that the parents participated in turning him in. They originally called somebody in their church that they knew through church who was a law enforcement official. As the details come out, one thing, and as we get closer to the trial and start these hearings, I really think it's important to focus and go back to yesterday. I went on a whole like 15-minute rant about how off the charts crazy Candace Owens has gotten. We got to remember there are people out there that do not believe Tyler Robinson acted alone. People who think that Turning Point has had something to do with this. And it all comes from crazy dreams that Candace Owens says she had because she's a wackadoodle, because she is starved for attention, because she wants to put herself in the middle of this awful situation. And not a fan. 545-9950 if you want to talk about Charlie Kirk's assassination and what you think we're going to hear or see in this trial, what you want to get come out sooner rather than later. If you have your own questions, I know there have been conspiracy theories about the fact that there was a trap door underneath, but all of the forensic evidence, all of the evidence being used in this trial is going to point to a lone gunman acting on his own. They've got his whole timeline, contrary to what has been publicly put out there. Things track. The prosecutors feel very strongly about their case, and I'm really sorry for Charlie Kirk's personal friends, of which I have a number of mutual friends with him, and his family, his wife, and his children that they're being put through, not just having been, had their lives turned upside down because of this horrible killing, but also the subsequent conspiracy theories and accusations and personal attacks that they've had to face. Nobody should endure either part of this, right? Nobody should endure a public assassination this way, and then after the fact have to deal with all of the conspiracy theories from people who say they support and love Charlie or they appreciate what he was doing. So it's really frustrating to have to for it's frustrating from the outside having to watch them, handle all of this in their grief, but then to have them have to handle this and the other stuff, it's not right. Okay, when we come back, let's see. Democrat lawmakers on the Hill vowing to end ICE funding. Yeah, good luck with that. Can we just all agree that the only quasi security law enforcement adjacent thing we should get rid of is TSA? For the love of all that's holy, I know they've changed TSA and now we can keep our shoes on. Woohoo. But if we could get rid of any security style thing. I was talking to my kids yesterday about the airport and going through the airport. What was I reading? I was reading something. I typically, if I'm reading something news related, like I'm getting ready for a story or something, I'll read it out loud because I think it's just so important for kids to hear reading, by the way, and I like them. Not knowing this side of world events, the crazy violent side or the crazy, crazy wackadoodle side, but I like them hearing things. And I was reading, and there was something about someone going up to the gate at the airport. And I was like, yeah, you used to be able to do that. You used to be able to just walk your friends right on up there and sit with them until their plane take off. And now we've got airport, you know, quasi security that does make me very, very safe at all out there doing air window dressing stuff. All right, we're going to come back. We've got Ruth on the line about Charlie Kirk. We'll talk about that if you want to call and talk about the hearings, the trial, the evidence, all the things. 545-545-9950. Back in a second. Well, good morning, everyone. Almost afternoon. We were talking Charlie Kirk's killer. Ruth called in. We're going to go to her before we are joined by Paul DeMarco for a little bit. Hi, Ruth. How's it going?
That's going good. Thank you very much for taking my call. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Thanks for holding on for a while. What's going on?
Um, I I'm not praying that he gets innocent or found innocent. He did it, but I am praying that Satan doesn't just sit on top of his head and just pound him and say, "See, what you did? The whole world is against you," and every day he sits in that cell by himself. And nobody hurts any worse than God does right now. And he lost one of the ones he died for.
Yep.
So I am not. I just feel bad all around. But,
well, and that's worth saying, Ruth. That's a good point. We are all children of God. Jesus came to save each and every one of us, even those who commit horrific crimes. And maybe this is an opportunity. I say maybe this is. Everybody has the opportunity for redemption. Now, does that mean he escapes justice? Whatever the justice may be, should he be found guilty and face sentencing?
No, I'm not praying.
But yeah, we can all pray for his soul. I believe that of everyone, even the worst of the worst monsters. I hope that they find Jesus along their path, wherever that path leads them, whether it's jail or the death penalty. Well, thanks for calling, Ruth. We need to remember our own humanity, and it's good to have that reminder every now and again. Even monsters can be saved. Even someone who lived their lives, doing horrible, terrible things. Our God is a God of forgiveness. I'm not going to start preaching at you right now, but I do feel very strongly, Ruth, and thank you for that call. We live in a society where our criminal justice system weighs, and Paul DeMarco is going to call back a little later this afternoon. By the way, you guys, in case you're waiting for him to come on, it'll be about 1:30, 1:35 that he calls instead now. But we live in a time where it's horrific things happen, and I was talking about this earlier this week when we were talking about the new legislation to change, if you are a pedophile who has significantly harmed a child, you're eligible for the death penalty under the new law. The White House is in support of Alabama passing this law. The governor not only called for its passage, but called for its early passage. So I think we will see it sail through the legislative session. This what is expected to be a relatively quick and non-controversial legislative session. We're going to see that bill come up. I believe we're going to pass it out. Who is in defense of horrible child abuse, sexual assault offenders? But each and every one of us have the opportunity, no matter our sin, and to be redeemed. And so, thanks for that call, Ruth. All right. Well, I was saying I've now gone off on I'm looking at. Did you guys? Leland heard, and Leland played it yesterday. I didn't get the clip, but the White House. We went yesterday afternoon and listened a little bit to what was going on at the White House. And the White House press secretary fielded a question that was so loaded and biased. And the way that she handled it, she is by far, in my lifetime, the best press secretary we have ever seen in the White House. Hands down, unequivocally, without question. And I say that as someone who knows Sean Spicer personally, has shot pool with him, has texted him, has had him as a guest on this radio station and on these radio shows. I love me some Sean Spicer. I think there have been some really good press secretaries, but I tell you what, the one we've got there now takes no prisoners. And she does not accept the premise of a loaded, liberally biased question. And yesterday, chef's kiss. Chef's kiss for handling a question about and if you missed it, it was about the deaths of detainees of ICE. And she asked, in the death of Renee Good, And she turned it back and asked him what his thought was. And he obviously has the liberal perspective. Video evidence be damned. He thought it was wrong for the ICE agent to have used a weapon in self defense. And so, by the way, one argument, and I heard it again yesterday after the White House press conference. Well, she wasn't armed. You, everybody, I'm assuming everybody listening to this station understands that you don't have to have a knife or a gun to have a weapon. I have pairs of stiletto heels that could be a weapon that could hurt you just as bad as any knife. I kid you not. I've got some Alexander McQueen's with some metal heels that would get you. Some Tamara Mellon little boots. Yeah, absolutely. Anything, just about anything, could be used as a weapon. You can use a pillow to smother someone to death. That would be a weapon, weaponizing a pillow, using it to smother someone, a tool used in that death. You can use a vehicle, and we've seen vehicles used so frequently in the last decade as weapons, running into crowds at huge events, using weapons to run over law enforcement. Unfortunately, that's a pretty regular occurrence across the country. You do not have to have a fire. She was unarmed. He shot an unarmed person. No, she was armed with a big old vehicle that was not just pointed at him, was heading towards him and had already bumped him. She was armed. We have to get out of our head that only things that are traditional weapons are weapons. No, nearly anything used the wrong way. Have you not seen a James Bond movie, people? The man could make it just about anything a weapon. What was that? What was the show? MacGyver. Did you ever watch MacGyver, Carrie?
Oh yeah, it's my favorite show.
I loved that show. The other day I took in calls. It got me started on MASH, and I was watching a little bit of Golden Girls. Somebody reminded me of Designing Women. I watched a little bit of that. Here's the thing: those are such well-written shows, but MacGyver didn't make the conversation, and now I have to add it to the list because it's a good old-fashioned show. I think my kids would like it.
He had some good projects on there.
And he did. He could MacGyver anything. Yeah, anything could be I could pick up this chair and throw it at Leland when he walked in, and that would be a weapon. I would use the chair as a weapon.
I would actually like to see that.
Leland could be like, "What did I do? I did nothing." He's actually been working out of his home studio, which I tuned in the other day, and it's really nice. Well, I go back to I've now completely lost my train of thought. Oh, I was talking about the White House press secretary just manhandling this ignorant reporter who was acting as an activist. Here's the thing, and I've talked about this yesterday in between breaks with the police chief and the staff that were in here. A lot of people don't realize, and because we've gotten so used to how the left has blurred the lines, there's opinion, which is what you're hearing from me, what you hear from Andrew, what you hear from Leland, what you hear at Dixon and Vining. There's opinion, right? Commentary style news, and that's what we're doing here. We tell you what happened or give you information, and then we tell you our opinion about it. There's commentary, but there is a need in this nation for news, hard news. Here are the facts. You decide without the bias of my opinion in there. And so many journalists have blurred this line between opinion and hard news, and you don't get your hard news anymore because it's not what here you need to know that on Thursday this person did this thing, and here's what the police say the motive is, or here's what the evidence, maybe they made a statement or whatever. This is the news. Now everybody's giving you their opinion from go about who that person was in one way or another, and they paint this picture. Well, this reporter very obviously had an agenda. He wanted to go into this story painting ICE as the bad guys, as responsible for every detainment, every death during detainment. Wanted to paint every ICE agent as this bad guy and this villain. And she was like, have you studied the individuals killed by illegal aliens? Have you studied the victims that have made the media or the ones that have not made the media? And the answer is no, because they go into a story not with the intention of telling us what's going on. They go into the story with an agenda as an activist, and and then pass it off as hard journalism. And we don't get from these left-wing medias the who, what, where, why who, what, where, why. I'm missing one. And we aren't getting just here's the situation. We're getting, and ICE was wrong. I can't tell you. And I used to have friends who were editors over at AL.com, and I would send, a series of stories and said, you told 5 versions of this, 5 stories on this, this project or whatever, and you didn't give the other side anything, or you focus on one thing. It happens a lot of times with environmental groups. They'll file nuisance lawsuits that don't stand a snowball's chance, and they'll get all the media from it because the left loves to do that. They love to manipulate you. And that's exactly what is brainwashing a number of these protesters out there right now, is the message that the left wants you to hear, that, unfair, terrible, things are happening, without giving context to what happened before or after. Imagine where we'd be right now as a country if we didn't have the video footage of what actually happened to Renee Good. And even seeing the footage, there are still people out there in absolute denial of what happened. We have before the law enforcement officers went up to her, the video from the neighbor streaming her in the roadway, just yucking it up, dancing behind the wheel, impeding traffic. We've got the video that from 2 different angles that isn't even the officer's phone. What we do not have is we do not have the video yet, and I suspect we're going to get it at some point because it'll be evidence in the case. The video that the significant other, Renee's significant other, took. I really do hesitate to call her the wife. Um, but we have the video that she took that has not been released yet, but it's going to show the same thing. You're going to hear even more clearly than you do in all the other videos, because it's her own she was taking the video, her telling Renee to run over the officer. It's absolutely crazy. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we will get more into some of what's going on the Hill as liberals try to defund ICE. Not happening with this president, which I'm very happy we don't have to worry about that. Imagine if all this happened under, well, it wouldn't have happened under Biden, because Biden loved the illegals being here. He wasn't using ICE to get in there and block these sanctuary cities from letting these people go. But not going to happen under Trump, and that is what I voted for. Back in a second. You're listening to April Marie, fill in for Andrew. Well, good morning, everyone. What's left of the morning? It is 11:51. I don't know. I'm saying a lot this morning. I'm spending too much time with my kids, I tell you. We had surin last night. Do you like Thai food, Carrie?
Uh,
Not
some.
some. Okay. We'll have to work on this. One of these shows I'll bring up lunch for us. Yeah, we had. Well, now that I've gotten for a while I couldn't eat a lot. My stomach was it was not going well, and so I had to give up all of the food I love. I had to give up my coffee, my Thai food. It was a situation.
It may have been the Thai food that started it.
It was food poisoning that started it. I remember. I'll never forget. I filled in for Leland for like an hour within a day or two, and I was dying. But at any rate, had Thai food last night and did volleyball, did the back and forth to volleyball, all the things. It was a good night last night. This weather, though, I cannot get used to it. I'm either miserably hot. Yesterday I was baking in here, and then I realized I could turn that thing behind me off. Yesterday I was like, oh, I'm in a sauna. I'm gonna die. And then today I walk in, it's cold. This weather out here is bizarre. I did see friends in Florida that got like snow mist on their car. I got to figure out where they are now. Before we get back into the news, I wanted to wish a very, very happy birthday, a day late, belated, to my friend Grady. Grady is, if you are and I've will harp on this every time I get the opportunity. If you are involved in Alabama Republican politics from the perspective of you go to events and there are a number of candidate forums coming up. The Mid-Alabama Republican Club is hosting a handful of candidates at their next meeting. There's all sorts of meetings around the area. You can go to the ALGOP website and visit them. Even if you identify as a libertarian or an independent, but you like conservative candidates, I would encourage you to go to these events. Grady goes to many of them, a lot of them that I participate in, and he takes photos. So if you've seen beautiful images from Republican Party events, chances are Grady was the photographer. Actually, I'm pretty sure, and I don't think my current headshot on my social medias is one he took, but for a while it was. I might even need to move those back now that I think about it, because he took a really great picture of me at the Donald Trump Jr. RPOF event. I say RPOF. Let's try that again. I'm in the wrong state. That's Republican Party of Florida. ALGOP event. Apparently, I need more coffee this morning because now I'm reimagining all of us in our listening area in Florida. But at all of the ALGOP events, he is the photographer. A lot of ALGOP and a lot of the women Republican events, he's the photographer, and he is absolutely incredible. The first person I look for there can be the lieutenant governor in the room, there can be the most important congressman in the room, Tuberville. I don't care. I'm always going to look for Grady first because he warms my heart. So happy belated birthday, Grady. I hope yesterday was a great one, and I hope this is a great year for you. Okay, so I talked earlier a little bit about some of the things going on right here in Alabama. I have been covering the changes from the Birmingham Water Works into Central Alabama Water. How many of y'all have issues with Birmingham? I've had issues with Birmingham Water Works. Well, most everybody knows this by now, but the legislature last year passed a bill taking all of the consolidated power away from a handful of basically Birmingham insiders who have been running this utility into the ground for so long. That's my opinion, both as a customer and as someone who's covered this in the news. And they made the board a regional board. Well, that is really, we've seen just changes just for months. And if you haven't read my 1819 stories, I talked to AJ about it on his Birmingham Today radio program. But if you haven't read my stories on this, we've seen some really good changes. But with those changes, the status quo, a lot of people who their friends were getting money and they had jobs they weren't doing well, or there were circumstances where things weren't managed well, or whatever it is, there has been rumbling by the establishment utility crew. Which, saying that out loud, it sounds ridiculous. Like it's the water mafia people behind the scenes pulling the strings and ultimately costing water customers more money. That was my best if I were doing a Birmingham Water Works TV show. One of the biggest, by the way, one of the biggest critics of the waterworks for a while was Woodfin. Woodfin was like, "Good morning, everybody," except the people over at the Birmingham Waterworks Board, because those guys are jerks. That's paraphrasing, but just darn near close to what he said. So the Waterworks Board was rewritten in statute to make it a regional board with representatives from other parts of the served communities, right? So they redid the board. That board has come in. Now, even in the time that they've come in, they discovered like $2 million worth of copper thefts. They discovered thefts of that was basically from the supplies. They were supplies were being ordered and then not being kept, basically. And there were all these loose controls. They did an audit to find it. I'm getting to today's news. So yesterday, while I'm on air, an anonymous email goes. Oh, I take it back. I'm looking. It was forwarded to me yesterday, but it was sent on Wednesday. An anonymous email goes out, and it's criticizing the board. But within the first paragraph, they say a clear and disturbing pattern has emerged. Black employees, Black managers, and Black owned businesses and consultants are being stripped of authority and replaced with white leadership and white firms. Now, let's talk about some of the changes that have been made there, because I've been watching. And by the way, if you've never watched a water utility board meeting, with rare exception in terms of the the new board trying to get rid of some of these unnecessary contracts or these unnecessary burdens that were put on, or sometimes conflicts that consultants that had conflicts with the original presentations you're going to see are boring. Like the engineering and infrastructure side of the waterworks, total yawn fest. What is not a yawn fest is looking at ways that the utility has been spending money like hand over fist for and getting who knows what. So some of the changes that they did is they cut a contract. Right now the city of Birmingham is suing the government to try to get wrestle control back, because they did so great controlling it the first time. Woodfin wants to take control of this utility, so they fired a consultant who was representing both the city and the utility and said, no, this is a conflict. You've got two people with completely conflicting and competing interests. We're going to go ahead and not extend your contract. That wasn't somebody being fired because of their race. That was somebody fired because they had a conflict in their contract. Duh. Really easy. This is not complicated. So the anonymous email made that about race. There were individual managers who, right under their nose, all these thefts happened. Not a racial ending of that job either. There was a contract that went to further Black businesses, but not necessarily Black businesses that were impacting water. Ooh, I'm going to go on this on the flip side of this. AL.com running this story as if it is the God's honest gospel. Oh, nope, they're all racist. When are we going to get past that here in Birmingham? Not everything has to happen the way you think makes a good narrative. Sometimes facts align the other way. All right, April Marie here, filling in for Andrew. Back in just a minute. Well, good afternoon. Just after 12 on this free for all Friday over here. April Marie with the line, holding down fort while Andrew is on a much needed vacation road trip. Uh, I have been following. I need to check in, see what he posted on his. I feel like a little stalker over here. And what is he doing now? 21 hours ago, he went to the beach. He says even though it's freezing, the princess wanted to kick off her shoes and walk on the beach. I love the beach. The beach is my happy place. I don't know if you know this about me, but in if I am just in the craziest funk and I am anywhere near a body of water, that's where I'm headed. I just something about the sound of water, and especially the beach where I can smell the salt water. It's a very calming thing for me. I used to go and just drive to the water and just listen to the water when I got stressed living in Titusville, Florida. So we're keeping up with Andrew's adventures as he goes. I wish I can get him to take more vacations because it's fun being here with you guys. Thank you to those of you sending me messages. They're very kind. The call line is open. It's 545-9950. Kind of going over a little bit of everything. Going into that last break, hold on, let's see. President Trump was speaking on his Iran strategy, taking questions from reporters. Carrie, can we go to that Fox real quick?
Else's Nobel Prize.
Well, she offered it to me. I thought it was very nice. She said, you know, you've ended 8 wars, and nobody deserves this prize more than in history than you do. And I thought it was a very nice gesture. And by the way, I think she's a very fine woman, and we'll be talking again. Say it?
What's the trigger for the Insurrection Act in Minnesota? What are you waiting for?
Well, the Insurrection Act, which has been used by 48% of the presidents as of this moment, the Insurrection Act also, if you look at it, I believe it was Bush, the elder Bush, he used it, I think, 28 times. It's been used a lot. And if I needed it, I'd use it. I don't think there's any reason right now to use it. But if I needed it, I'd use it. It's very powerful.
President Trump called Machado a very nice person at the meeting went well. Why align with Delcy Rodriguez and the remnants of the Maduro regime and not with Machado, who has the support of the Venezuelan people?
Well, if you ever remember a place called Iraq where everybody was fired, every single person, the police, the generals, everybody was fired, and they ended up being ISIS. Instead of just getting down to business, they ended up being ISIS. So I remember that. But I'll tell you, I had a great meeting yesterday by a person who I have a lot of respect for, and she has respect, obviously, for me and our country. And she gave me her Nobel Prize. But I'll tell you what, I got to know her. I never met her before, and I was very, very impressed. She's this is a fine woman.
Where are you going to vote for? The March for Life is next week.
Yes.
And some pro-lifers are worried
Listening
about
to
your
Trump take
support
questions
for the
on the White House
Hyde
lawn.
Amendment. What do you tell them?
Well, you know what I tell them? You're going to hear about it because I just taped a beautiful piece for them, and they're going to play it. And those are great people. I want to tell you, they're great people. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everybody.
All right, this looks like he's headed to Marine One, the helicopter. It's so cool to watch him in real time take these questions. I've said this before, the night and day difference between, Otto Pin Joe Biden presidency and dopey Joe Biden, who his handlers wouldn't let him take questions, to Trump taking questions even from hostile reporters all the time, day in and day out. It's just so refreshing. There's something about having this level of transparency and having this level of accountability to what he's doing. Now, he did say there that the Insurrection Act was used by Bush 28 times. It's actually in total over time been used that about 28, 30 times. And the LA riots is when Bush used them. He didn't sound very like that was something he wanted to do. Obviously, the options on the table, he is it's something he considered because he's posted on social media about it, and hopefully the leftists realize that they don't want this. They don't want the president to have to come in and clean up their mess, and local law enforcement starts getting their act together and stop allowing these illegal, and that's what they are, illegal protests to happen. It makes no sense that we've gotten to where we have in watching daily the just laws being broken. This is not a peaceful protest. If it were a peaceful protest, we wouldn't be having this conversation today. There are bad actors, a number of bad actors involved who are more interested in their 15 minutes of fame through these videos that they're posting online. Who posts? Let's see. You got to be a special kind of stupid to go and steal from a squad car, but steal in a squad car when 90% of the people surrounding you have video cameras, not a genius move. We're not dealing with the best and the brightest there. I really do hope some sanity prevails and the president isn't forced, doesn't have his hand forced, because it will impact midterm elections. And all of the same yahoos out there protesting no kings. And actually, we really should have just let that Venezuelan dictator left him alone to his own devices to run drugs into our country and to terrorize his own people. We should have let that guy in place. Those sympathizers, that they just need to be put under control. I say put under control. The leftists themselves need to call out the craziness that is some of these protests. All right, we are going to Jasmine Crockett, calling the ICE operations, quote, slave patrols. We went into break with me talking about this anonymous letter AL.com published that talks about the changes right here in Birmingham at the waterworks, the utility that is now Central Alabama Water. Trump doesn't get to decide what race or ethnicity or country of origin are the people that he's arresting. He's going after people who are here illegally. More of the people with the crazy rap sheets that he's going after, ones that should have never been here in the first place. They are minority. Why? Because that's who's here. That's who Biden allowed in. That's who came. The people who have committed crimes since they've been here. Again, Trump doesn't get a say in what race they are. The leftist media and these leftist politicians, it's all about race. No, it's all about lawfulness. And either you're here legally or you're not. Either you're a bad dude or you're not. And this is just absolutely silly times we've got going on out there. Just ridiculous. And we're going to see wall-to-wall coverage of this until it does clear up. And like I said, hopefully calmer heads prevail, because when we're talking about and looking at midterm elections, I don't know that the lawlessness is what the country wants more of. Oh, we need more of this. Bring this back to communities all over the country. Let's let this crazy spread. Speaking about letting crazy spread, I did a story last night. It's on the front page of 1819 News right now. I labeled it, and then I woke up this morning and saw it, and I was like, the title of my story is Pro-Palestine Student Org at University of Alabama unleashes anti-Israel BDS demands on the administration. So essentially, there's been these Students for Justice in Palestine wrote protest at the University of Alabama 4 or 5 times. Warmed my heart to see. I was watching videos actually of the different protests to see the patriotic young Americans we have on these campuses, the ones who Charlie Kirk was reaching out to. We've got a number of organizations on the ground at some of these campuses that are counter-protesting in support of Israel. But the president of the University of Alabama, President Peter Moeller, he does this Mornings with Moeller conversation where he comes in, you can talk to him about anything going on campus. So at that event, the Students for Justice in Palestine came in with their list of demands. What is this? What is going on here? And they were, those include, basically, they want, it's the boycott, divestment, and sanctions, the BDS movement, to block out companies that have in any way, shape, or form supported or remain neutral because they want everybody to boycott Israel. They want Israel to have, one of the things they're doing is Coca-Cola. They're asking people to stop. Uh, they want the university to end its contract with Coca-Cola. There's Ronald Gray, who is on the board of trustees. They want him removed. He's got defense contract ties and business. His business dealings are with defense contractors. He wants all the the they want all of the contracts with the Department of War, research ended. They want to stop allowing weapons manufacturers to recruit at campus events. They want to drop Lockheed Martin as a career champion partner. Here these absolute look. I get it. You're at college, you're whatever, but you're letting your hate show, folks. This is all anti-Israel. This is all against Jewish people and companies that have supported Israel in their right to defend themselves. I was looking at images of from these events, and it is exactly who you would think it is. It is exactly the same types of individual. You don't even have to look at the pictures to know what they're going to look like. The protesters here at this event. I go back to my point of yesterday and nearly every day, which is go find something useful to do with your time. Supporting terrorists maybe not be the best use of your time, limited time and resources. It's absolutely ridiculous. It turns out they'd made some of these requests before. They've added to it, although I wasn't able to find the full original list. The woman that was quoted by the Crimson White as being at this protest, I looked her up, and she's been at every one of these protests. She was at the Trump event, the Tide Against Trump event, saying that Trump's presidency represents so many negative things. Trump's presidency has caused a great deal of stress and suffering in our lives. Imagine how much fun she is to have a class with. And then go figure, you look at this and she is at every rally, she is at every event. And all I can think to myself is, couldn't we find a better use of her time? I joked with a friend last night as I was writing this story. I was saying, these are the people, this is the type of young individual who what they do not need is they do not need more teachers and professors in their classrooms beating this radical ideology into their heads and filling their minds with this anti-American hatred, with this hatred about Trump, this hatred against conservatism, this hatred against the freedoms that we enjoy. Mueller was a lot nicer than I would have been. He somewhat, he took it in stride, them coming up, and he said, well, he was proud. He said, I'm very pleased we have a very active group on campus and welcome dialogue. We're proud to have an anti-Israel group on campus. I know that's not what he was saying. He was just saying, I'm glad we've got activists and kids participating in things. This is one of those being polite, maybe not the best circumstances. All right, back in a moment. You're listening to April Murray fill in for Andrew on this Free for All Friday. Phone lines are open. Well, good afternoon, everyone. April Marie here, filling in for Andrew. I almost didn't come back. I'm watching this video of this Florida woman who assaulted she's an anti-ICE protester. And in a video seen and taken on from a dash cam, the woman with the smile, like she's on a Disney freaking land ride. She knows she's about to get her GoFundMe payday for doing this. But a anti-ICE protester, you can see her. She punched a trooper in the face. She kicked another one. Uh, Moments before she cracked a big old smile. Officers had already put her hands behind her back. Here's where we are in the world. I'm watching this video of this absolutely just disturbed individual. You could see her kicking an officer before she slammed down. She's got the biggest smile on her face. Um, Here's where we are in the world. My first question was, is she a teacher? Did I tell you how bad the left has rotted and infiltrated our schools and our teachers? My first thought was because that we've seen so many of those participating in these protests that are engaged, employed in teaching situations, and it goes to show you how our kids are ending up the way that they are. This actually doesn't say what her job. Oh, she's the owner of a. No, she was at a grocery store. She was just protesting at the grocery store after ICE agents showed up with a state trooper. It doesn't say what her job is, but I want to commend the state of Florida, DeSantis specifically, and his attorney general, who said, really bad decision to attack one of our troopers. This isn't Minneapolis. He also said at a different event, he said, I do know there was a woman who came out and assaulted one of our troopers. Let me tell you guys, this is not Minneapolis. This is not going to end well in Florida. They're going to prosecute, and they're going to. Here's the thing: is Florida has some of the toughest laws because of what the BLM protesters were doing, blocking traffic. They have some of the best stand your ground castle doctrine, supported by courts, challenged and still affirmed a number of times. They have passed laws that say that if you're in a vehicle and you're surrounded or you're in traffic and you can leave, you can make an exit, that you have the right to protect yourself in those situations and to move forward. I don't know what these protesters are thinking, who they think they are, blocking traffic. Oh, we're a peaceful protest, but we're going to stop you from getting to the hospital with your loved one. We're going to stop you from picking up your kids at school. We're going to frighten the heck out of your kids while they're in your car, and we're going to surround you. And there will be no consequences for these actions. Absolutely not. I've said before, we here in Alabama, and there was, after what was going on in Hoover, after the Galleria justified again shooting there. We have seen protesters do that around here. Homewood, they weren't playing. BLM tried to walk in the roadways and block traffic a number of times. They were right up on it. No, this is one of those. Absolutely not. I am for all of the arrests. Put them all in the back of a big old van. Go grab yourself a U-Haul box truck if you have to, and throw them all in the back of the car and take them all in, process them all one at a time. Yes, they will get bailed out. Yes, all of these crazy, these bail fund activists that Kamala participated in, and all the Democrats seem to think is so great to do. Let's just put them all in, and if they bail them out, they bail them out. Not allow bail for some of them, and cycle them through. You can't get away with this crud. You just can't. Because when you give an inch, they'll take a mile, and that has consistently what's been happened with these left protesters. These mostly paid. You got a combination of paid protesters. You got all these retirees, left-wing radical retirees. Saw a video the other day. Someone on the street out there, and they were asking these affluent older people how they felt about the Somalian refugees. And when they say, "Yeah, I'm here, I'm supportive of them," all of the things, they'd say, "Okay, how many are you willing to take in? Well, like, can I get your name and email address? And we're going to work with organizations that are placing some of these displaced Somalians. How many can you take into your house? Do you know how many people said yes? I'll take a Somalian in my house. Zero. Not a single one. I want to do that in Mountain Brook someday. You know, all these really radical liberals in these really affluent, high-end neighborhoods who are like, "Oh yeah, we need to let all of these illegals with no matter what their gang activity, if they're human trafficking, drug trafficking, weapon trafficking, whatever it is they're doing, they deserve an opportunity for the American dream." All right, my friend, let's do this. Why don't we go ahead and you just let 3 to 5 people fit in you? We know you got the big old houses. They'll have the BLM signs in their yards. I don't stand for hate in your yard. Yeah, okay. Well, I also don't see refugees spilling out of your door. I put refugees in air quotes. I don't see a number of these violent offenders sleeping on your sofa because you want to give them a second chance at and a chance at the American dream. I don't see you in your extra vehicles, handing out car keys. Why? Because you don't actually mean it. It's like when they were started, and I loved it. It was so funny to me that taking illegals and busing them into these super affluent Democrat areas from Texas. Loved every minute of that. Do you know why? Because it shows the hypocrisy. You don't really care. What you really want is you want to feel good about yourself by saying, I support these individuals. I go ahead and let them all in. It doesn't matter that they don't want to assimilate. It doesn't matter that they don't want to they don't want to follow the rules to legally get here. I want everybody in. Oh, but not at my coffee shop. Oh, but not in my house or my neighborhood. That's different. That's just different. I want taxpayers as a whole. I'm not going to open up my checkbook and give you money. There was a guy at a coffee shop. I was actually, in fact, in Mountain Brook. There's a guy at a coffee shop, and I don't remember how exactly we got onto the subject of welfare, but somehow we did. I was probably wearing something. It's been a couple of years now, but we got into a conversation about and I said to him, you know, what if I came in here every day and asked you to buy me a coffee? Would you do that? What are the limits to your giving? What if I wanted your car? What if I really needed your car? Uh, Bleeding heart liberals are not the same as bleeding heart Republicans because we understand that you got to do things the right way and you got to have systems in place. I am all for solving so many of our problems. But I think we have to prioritize them, prioritize who wants actual help and actually to get out of circumstances versus those who just want to come into our country, like we've seen so many of these illegals and exploit, take, take, take. That's what we got to fix. All right. April Marie here filling in for Andrew. When we get back, I might get back into some of the state issues. Phone lines are open. Back in a second. Well, good afternoon. It's Friday. Woohoo! Big birthday plans, as I've said before, on this weekend. Carrie, you got any big weekend plans lined up?
I do not.
You do not? You're just gonna have a lazy weekend?
Yeah, that's what I do pretty much all the time. Don't do much. It's too cold to do anything.
It really is. Like I said yesterday, I was burning up in here. Now I'm cold and I'm in a. You can't tell this if you're watching on the YouTube, except that I kind of cozy. But I am balled up in a little ball over here, cold in this. I didn't plan today through. My feet are freezing. I should have brought socks to the studio today. No, it's cold out there. Which will make the ice skating, the transition in and out seem okay. It's cold when we go ice skating. We've got family in from Florida, family in from Arizona. We'll be living it up this weekend. We started last night with one of my daughter's favorite restaurants for takeout, and we'll be. Usually my weekends I try to keep relatively quiet at least one of the 2 days. There's going to be no quiet this weekend. It's going to be go, go, go. Anything the little one, who by the way is not so little, wants to do. All right. Talking about some of the top stories here. Trump took some questions on his way out of the White House and talked about, let's see what looks like one of his meetings, he was given the Nobel, I can't say the word right now. Nobel. That's the word I'm looking for. Nobel Peace Prize. I have no idea why my brain isn't working. This has been happening for me for days now. The right word not coming out of my mouth. The Nobel Peace Prize by the Venezuelan visitor he had, as they try to, kind of unmess what has happened in Venezuela and get to a place where they can actually have free and fair elections. It's crazy to me to watch these liberal Democrats lose their mind about the way our government is going. Are you not looking? Are you not looking around you? Are you not looking at what has happened when countries truly aren't free? We have so many people who don't understand. We have rights that are, you look at what's happening in Iran right now. You look at what the people of Venezuela have gone through. You don't have to look far to see where socialism is failed, where dictatorships have failed, where true election fraud and crazy governments and the repercussions of all of this. You go on the streets and you ask a protester who is out there, and half of these people these days right now, and what we're seeing, half of these people breaking a law in one way or another, whether it's blocking traffic or, participating in the assaulting of ICE and all of these things, while talking about how bad our government is, how bad Trump is. He's not a king. No, we have no kings, no dictator. He's a fascist. He's a this, he's a that. And you're going, you have the right to say this. You have the right to post this on the internet. Have you not seen what's happening to people around the world who do not have and enjoy these rights? Do you know what you're talking about? As I was looking at the protests at the University of Alabama, and I hate the word privileged because it was used so much, and really everything was about white privilege this, white privilege that. But in the actual definition of the word, what a privilege it is. That we have our God-given rights, not given to us by government, but we have a government that protects, that we have a system in place that protects these rights that we inherently have. And you have these whiny liberals out there talking about how they have no rights. Well, if this in reality was what you say it is, if we actually had what you think this is, you wouldn't have the ability to be out there doing what you're doing. Do you not understand this? On these college campuses, these absolute nut jobs and who have been indoctrinated and in different ways. This is why it's so important to me to keep my kids off social media, to keep my daughter away from TikTok, to keep I'm to push so hard at 1819 News and here on Talk 99.5 and all of the places I get to let my voice be heard, to get out there and say we have got to get the woke nonsense out of our colleges, out of our universities, out of their textbooks. Day in and day out, I'm reading, and I'm not exaggerating here. I am reading things that our kids are getting, our young adults are getting on these college campuses, and that's how we're getting the Renee Goods of the world. That's how we're getting these protesters who have no idea what they're talking about, is because it's starting in the classroom. We've seen liberal rot in our K-12 classrooms. We're fighting it. Earlier I talked about John Wall and this fight at the Alabama public libraries. We're seeing the books. We're seeing this radical hatred towards our country. If I were to list kind of my biggest gripes with the left, one of them is this underappreciation, if any appreciation whatsoever, for how absolutely great it is we get to protest, how incredible our Second Amendment rights are. And that's why we don't give an inch. We don't give an inch on our Second Amendment rights because we know at the end of the day why we exercise our Second Amendment rights, why we choose to own and train on and have our firearms is so that we know, because we have the ability to protect all the other rights. And ultimately, we have the God-given right to protect ourselves, our property, our families. We have the God-given right to stand and defend ourselves. But if you look around the world in all these places where these people cannot, their government has taken over. The radicals are inside and they're running things and they're stripping our rights. We don't have to look far to see what a slippery slope that can be, because we just have to look back at during COVID. We have to look and remember it like it was yesterday, right? We're going to urge you to not leave your house. We're going to urge, and in the early days of COVID, if you don't know this, I was like, tell me what I need to do to stay alive. Tell me what I need to do to keep my kids alive. Tell me like what is going on. And then you find out how arbitrary things were. The 6-foot rule, where the heck did that come from? The masking kids, the horror of fear and fear mongering. We woke up to it. It didn't take us very long before experts started saying you're following the wrong experts. The experts you're looking at are lying to you, and watch that unravel before our eyes. I look at the protests we have today. I look at what happened during COVID. I look at to these other countries that are being overrun by their immigrants, and I think, thank God we have the freedoms we do, and among them is the Second Amendment, because that's the only thing that's going to prevent us from becoming one of these countries where our rights are taken from us. And the unappreciation of what these kids, of what they get to do on these college campuses, including at the University of Alabama. How well are you being taught? I almost feel like you take these kids and you go, all right, I am not into, remedial anything, but what we have seen repeatedly that kids are getting into college these days and they need remedial English, they need remedial math, they're not at grade level. There's all this great inflation going on during DEI. There was all these unqualified applicants getting into college campuses. I almost feel like you go to college campuses and you talk to these kids on these protests who do not understand what they're saying, who are using terms incorrectly, and you go, you know what? You need a remedial United States history. You need a remedial world history. You need a remedial government class, okay? Because you are clueless, and we're going to set you out onto the real world. And so and it's a failure. It's a failure by our public schools more often than not. K-12. That's what gets these kids so open to getting on these campuses and having these radical ideas just baked into their curriculum, and they take it as fact. These kids are clueless to what's going on around them, and they're being indoctrinated. All right, I could go on and on. I won't, but like I said, I put up a story. Students at the University of Alabama, and they're pro-Palestine. No, they're pro-Hamas. They're being used by tools of Hamas, and some of them know it and they don't care. And some of them think they're going to be on the right side of history, but they're not. They're absolutely not. All right, I'm going to take a quick break as soon as I Carrie's helping with a call over here. As soon as we get back, we'll take your phone calls. 545-9950, 545-9950. I am on a rant of having watched these kids at the University of Alabama's protest over the last year and a half in support of terrorism. They don't watching what's happening in Minneapolis. People don't understand the freedoms. They're taking this for granted. Back in a second. You're listening to April Marie, filling for Andrew. April Marie here. Stood up and stretched a little bit during that break. Getting old. This cold weather is hitting me harder. I don't know what's happening. I've got knee pain right now. Although it occurred to me that part of the reason I have knee pain is the placement of this chair. I think I've just had my knee up against it for 2 days, 4 hours a day. Now I'm like, oh, my knee's sore. Oh, wait, look at the way you're holding it. Jay on the line as we talk about our rights. Hi, Jay.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Hey, I appreciate a lot of the stuff that you're saying. It's refreshing to hear somebody besides Leland and the boy child. I mean, he tends to talk too much about farts and other things. But anyway, what a lot of people don't understand how quick we can lose our rights is look at England right now. All the people that are being prosecuted for hate speech for simply going online and complaining about, things in general.
Yep.
And, I mean, they're classifying just your basic, like B sessions. And by God, the hate police is coming to arrest you. And they aren't just finding these people, they're putting them in jail.
It is absolutely crazy. They are, and I've seen a lot of it when it comes to the we refuse to be compelled to call a man a woman. certain things you say about immigrants. It's
Yeah,
frightening what
yeah,
they are. Don't tell the truth about these gang rapists. Like, don't tell the truth. You can't.
yeah,
Don't
yeah.
don't
Or
offend somebody.
or even push back against the Muslim input. And again, I'm an American through and through. I believe in equal rights and equal education and in religion, the freedom too. But when your religion becomes a tool to take my rights away,
Yep.
then it's time to look around and say, maybe this isn't such a great idea to let them. Thank God for Elon Musk. I wish him and Trump would patch up their little feud because, if it hadn't been for that man buying Twitter
Yep.
or whatever it's called now, X, God knows if Trump would even have gotten elected. They were in so close to controlling everything that we tried to have comments on.
It is frightening, and I'll tell you, and a lot of people don't realize this. Elon has said he would protect the free speech rights of individuals. I have a friend, Chris. He goes by Billboard Chris, but he is out there talking about. He uses his last name, but not rarely. So that's why I paused there. But he was sued for doing, and all he does is go out with a sandwich sign saying kids cannot consent to puberty blockers, and he's gotten arrested. He's had been told he has to remove posts, and Elon Musk paid for his defense, and they are fighting some of this in other places in other countries. Yeah, these freedoms that the left really do take for granted. Without them, they would be in a world of hurt. I laugh so hard. And I bring them up a lot because it's the greatest example. The University of Alabama gave a slot in their coveted, what should be a coveted, is now a laughingstock, Doctor of Social Work program to a queer Muslim, extremist. And you're going, what would happen if you dropped this dude who likes to wear women's clothing into any?
We'd be seeing him thrown off the top of a building with his head cut off.
And he's talking about how awful and terrible the United States is, and capitalism is bad, and this, that, and the other. He's not said the country, but a lot of our principles and values, and University of Alabama gives this guy a 3-year teaching contract.
Yeah, I guess the scariest part about the whole thing is that the children, and I use children freely. I'm 71, but the children do not know how fragile and how quickly the one right goes away, they all will go away in a blink of an eye. And the next thing you know, we are no longer the United States of America. We're some, no better than some third world crackpot, run by, and they're scared of Trump being a dictator. Wait till you get a real one in here, that wants to round all the people up that.
Re-education camps. It's not. They haven't even hidden.
Yes. You'll be back in the closets again, and it's not simply to be afraid of being outed; it's being afraid of getting killed. That's the sad part, and they just don't understand, how lucky we are to be in this country. I know I'm blessed with 3 wonderful kids that have done one's a firefighter, he's a police officer, and my other daughter was a Marine. So, I've been blessed to no end of having some good kids. And I do get tired of listening to all the old fogies around here. All these kids today, the world going to come to an end if it comes to this. Hey, we got 100,000 wonderful kids out there busting their tail. You don't hear from them because they're busy doing what we do. That's go to work every day. But anyway, I'm done with my rant. You have a wonderful day.
Thank you for calling in,
April.
I appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
We really do. We do have an entire population of the country that does not seem to understand how fortunate they are. That Trump is not any of the things that they call him, because if he were, they wouldn't be on the streets calling him it. These no kings rallies, these no dictator events, All of these things, you're going, yeah, if he was what you were saying he is, your life would be in danger right now, and it's not. If we were who you thought we were. I say this all the time when it comes to Second Amendment rights. Do you guys have any idea on the left how many people are armed? I've had firearms my entire adult life. Never shot a soul. Never had to. And there are the people who lawfully exercise their rights are the ones we protect the rights for. And your criminals, they're not going to follow the law. They're not. You're never going to have more gun control to end gun crime because those individuals are not going to follow the law. All right, we've got Poe on the line. Hey, Poe. Oh, maybe. Hold on. I didn't push the button. Hey, Poe.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing well.
Good. Hey, I just want to say this. I'll listen to you when you're filling in and everything, even with Leland and everything. But I'm going to tell you this about our Second Amendment and on top of that with the COVID. So, first of all, with our Second Amendment, we're saying it's being taken away. But literally, when you think about it, it's not being taken away only if we let it. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm just going to be honest with you. Democrat, Republicans, we elect these officials or whatever. What have they done for us? Democrat, Republican. Neither one of them are good. They're all harsh. And they, to me, some of them are on the Republican side incompetent, Democratic side incompetent. We put our faith in these cats and these men and these women. We put our faith in them. They work for us. So if we say that our rights of freedom of speech is being taken, it's only because you, April Marie, me, Poe, Leland, or whoever, or my coworker, or whoever we let take them away from us. The world is so sensitive now to where we can't say anything. So that's why it's being taken away, because we are so sensitive. We're scared to say stuff because we're afraid that people will sue us. Why? Let them, okay, damn, go ahead and sue. But I got a freedom of speech to say whatever I want to say and say whoever I want to say it to. That's why you can't talk politics at work, because if you feel something and then I feel something, but if we disagree, it takes strong people to say, okay, yeah, you right. Yeah, okay, well, you wrong. But then we can fight at work. Why? When we got freedom of speech, we're able to make our choices of what we want to say. Democrat, Republican, neither one of them are good. And as long as we let this freedom of speech being taken away from us, it's going to stay like that, because the world has gotten so sensitive now. And it's bad and it needs to stop.
I absolutely agree with you.
You know what I'm saying?
And you bring up a good point that I talk about a lot. We have to, and again, Republican, Democrat, you got so many Democrats who are keeping their mouth closed. They know what a woman is. They know a man can't get pregnant, but they're scared they're going to be called names, and so they won't say it out loud. That doctor sitting at the table 2 days ago, we played the video. She knows a man cannot get pregnant, but why won't she say it? She won't say it because it's going to hurt some crazy dude who wears a dress and comes into her office. It's going to hurt that person's feeling. The woman who cut her hair and now she thinks she is a man who's pregnant, it's going to hurt her feelings. But the fact of the matter is, you have a First Amendment right to say what's true and what's real, and we don't have a right to not have our feelings hurt. We don't, and nor do we have a responsibility to care about the feelings of someone who's trying to lie to us and compel us to lie too.
Right, and that's what I was saying, you know, so we need to be hard and stop letting people take our freedom of speech, continue to say what we want to say, if it is in justification. And another thing about the COVID, real quick, I'm going to say this. I'm a type 1 diabetic, so I take insulin shots to survive, right? So, and my thing is, I beg to differ on that COVID, because I'm going to be honest with you, I was the one that was wearing the mask during COVID. The people that I saw that weren't wearing the mask, I saw people get COVID, and it got them. You know what I'm saying? Me, I was paranoid. I'm a type 1 diabetic, so I wore my mask. I even wore a mask over my mask, and I never caught it. Well, maybe was I asymptomatic or whatever? I did my 6 feet standing away from everything, but I wore my mask and I was protected. And thank God, I never did get COVID. So I mean, I beg to differ on that. Like I say, you have to be outspoken about stuff. Like, I wore my mask.
Yep.
And I feel that it saved me.
Well,
that's just me.
Poe, I appreciate that, and thanks for calling in. I will say this on COVID, and I did the masking early. I did. I got the 2 shots. Did I get 2 or 3? I might have even gotten 3. I got a number of shots. Don't worry. I'm still here arguing. But I got multiple shots, and I watched. For those who don't know, and I think most of you who listen regularly know this. I grew up, I was incredibly blessed. My daddy, John, Fogle, which is where I get my name, Daddy John Fogle, who adopted me. My biological father passed away recently. It was a year ago. But my daddy John died with COVID. Now, did he die of COVID? I think he died. He died with a broken heart, isolated from his family, alone in a veterans hospital, for which I will never forgive the Veterans Administration. And so COVID is very personal to me. I saw him ventilated. I saw all of the things, but it was the way they took away our freedoms. Even my ability to go visit him in the hospital was a travesty. A crime against humanity. And I will never forgive those. I won't. I will never forgive those. And for people who were responsible for decisions they knew were reckless, that destroyed people's lives. All right, I'll be back. You're listening to April Marie filling in for Andrew. I've talked myself right into my last hour. Back in a second.